Hey everyone, it's CJ. Welcome to another episode of Open the World Map. He is the admin of a rapidly growing Chinese language Facebook group that run Dungeons and Dragon games online. We talked about Chinese speakers' role-playing habits, the D&D monk, Kung Fu and Wuxia fiction, and more. Have a listen. It's a great pleasure to speak to someone who is from the Chinese-speaking world, Taiwan or Hong Kong. It's great to see that somebody with a completely different language playing D&D, especially in Asia. It's going to be like an enormous market, especially if people started playing there.
Extreme.
Yeah. So all right. Can you tell us where are you from? Are you from which city of Taiwan? Which part of Taiwan?
Oh yeah. I came from mainly from this place called Nantou, and it's somewhere called Wuxia. So yes, I was born in the mountains at first. I'm a native Taiwanese, and well, yeah, that's basically where I came from.
That hasn't been an officially translated fifth edition D&D book.
Not
And
at all.
yeah, that's right. So how in the world do you guys play? Where do you get your materials from?
Basically, at first, because I do read English and speak English myself, I learned D&D from other friends, and I came to Taiwan. I got a bit bored, so I was like, thinking maybe I can find a group in Taiwan, and where I went online, going all around. It's not at all good idea doing around. There's no translated version. It's all in English, and especially in Taiwan, no one really reads English at all. So at first it was more of a me teaching other people to play as DM, as in Mandarin, and I DM for some group in Mandarin, and they answer in Mandarin. Just make a translated version. They learn. Then some people eventually we found online source of floating unofficial translate 5e rules, but not everything because the whole book is enormous information. So we were able to get some translated version, but we based that on the English version. So if we had some conflicts about the rules, we usually check the English version. What is the exact meaning of that rule? So it was a hard way. It was a hard way.
With the tabletop RPG scene in Taiwan, do you think it's a bit similar to Japan's, or do you think it's completely different?
You
Because
mean
Japan has
Japan
a
as in?
yeah, Japan has their own tabletop RPG scene, and they got a lot of their own native tabletop RPGs. Some of them are more anime based or stuff like that. In Taiwan, do they have any of those Japanese games?
The only tabletop RPG I heard that is most recently is only COC, Cthulhu, the Call of Cthulhu. And rest, I don't see much people playing others because that's the only COC materials that was completely translated properly and people can actually run the game.
A lot of the trend in Taiwan comes from Japan, doesn't it? They absorb a lot of Japanese culture and Japanese pop culture stuff.
Truly. It's not really because of the history, but it's more of a culture or more of a style. Because since anime's been getting into Taiwan quite recently, a lot of people enjoys the scene. Naruto, for example, those things are the reason what makes Taiwan people likes Japanese culture. But yes, mainly in cultures and all sorts, it's mainly based off Chinese people's culture.
With the group that you have right now, I see that you are running adventurous league games. So,
Yes, true.
right. So, do you record all your achievements and everything that you get on the log sheet? Do you do it officially?
Yes, we went on this online too that was recommended by Adventure League. We had everyone registered and had the logs being played afterwards, after the sessions.
Yeah, I kind of wonder though, because the modules would be in Chinese or is it in English?
What do you mean?
The module that you're using?
We'll be getting English modules. we have it on hand English, and we have friends or DM or enthusiasts trying to translate it, and then they will DM it for it. But for some DM who is able to read the English, which is usually start from me, I have to run the game for them to get them familiarized with the modules.
Okay, right. With this is going to be an interesting question to the Adventurers League, isn't it? If you get the English module, but you run it in a different language, does it still count as official?
That's a very nice question. I haven't thought about that. But I mean, I think it's just considered as a language barrier because Adventure League is more of an honor system. We trust at each other that we understand that you play the session, and since I have been personally observing other people in translated version DMing, I make sure they're not running off the topic, but stay at the same scene. Because after all, it's an imagination world. We're imagining the same thing, just in a different language.
Yeah, of course. Well, and that's practically the best thing about it. And also, you are running a lot of games online. You have your own recorded play session and so on YouTube. It seems that your presence is mostly online. Are there any like offline meetups for tabletop RPG stuff like that?
Yeah, we thought about that first, but that one won't be current future plan because really, if we have to find a place to all meet up, we need to spend money. And Taiwanese culture is a bit stingy on their, money usage, so they don't really accept that much. But eventually, our plan will be go on to conventions and maybe do a live DM over there. I had make sure with Adventure League they're okay with that. They actually said okay.
Do you have Hong Kong players in your group?
Yeah, we actually do have from Hong Kong and Malaysians, and not I don't know from native China, but I do DM a lot from Hong Kong and Malaysians. Their accent, we can understand their accent in a different way. So yeah, a few, but we mainly have Taiwanese here.
Do you guys exclusively run Adventurous League game, or there are also some home games? Because I
Yeah.
find that eventually a lot of people break into their own group and started running home games.
Yeah, but with our thing is that people do enjoy Adventures League, and currently the DMs are not so familiarized with the rules. They are scared to run their own home games. But yes, I do take some groups for their home game. They take my time. I only do Adventure Leagues on weekends. Others are just trying to translate, getting understand the modules because the modules basically says everything what's gonna happen, and if something happened that's out of the hand, they will just ask me. So there we run majorly on Adventures League because we have a module, but home game is a tough one. It's not translated everything if you don't understand the rule.
Right, I see. I guess you can really just make up the rules if you don't understand.
Yeah, oh, true, but we have stingy players who just like, hey, the rules here, hey, something like that. It makes the DM life a bit hard, you know. uh
In Taiwan, there isn't as many Western fantasy available in pop culture, is it?
Oh, actually, to be honest, I think they have been pretty good grasp on those things, like a goblin or a normal orc or anything. I think they get the concept pretty well because there's still westerns movie coming into Pacific Rim. Obviously, it's gonna get into Taiwan. People's gonna watch it. There's a lot of Western cultures in Taiwan, but not that effective.
This is a question that my patron want me to ask you. Is like in Dungeons and Dragons, the monk class, has a lot of key usage, and the way they describe key, does it resemble anything you have in?
Yeah, exactly. The name is Qi, and in English they call it Ki, and it's exactly the way how you understand in animes probably the inner power they have in them, and they have to channel it, and they were able to get like example for the falling speed where you jump from high spot, you don't take damage for monk, exactly the same thing in the Wuling stuff. They are able to even fly by just single jump.
So you would say it's a faithful recreation of those kung fu or wuxia movies.
I do DM some monks. They play exactly how you see in Wuling because especially Ferial blows. That's exactly what you're gonna see in Wuling's novel. You see them just hitting very fast, like some in air speed, lightning speed. Exactly. I think it's a very nice recreation, but there are some Western thoughts into it because it's still made for D&D.
In Taiwan, there is a native sort of pop culture phenomenon with this kung fu fighting dolls, those peely dolls.
Yeah, basically they have even until now they still have these kinds of booth like how you usually see in Western culture. They have like small hands and then people hiding behind a cardboard and just playing up there with a show. Basically, it's the same thing, but just with a more detailed character and detailed a story over there.
What sort of like things that are popular in Taiwan that you think would be excellent, if D&D can start incorporating into their games, perhaps? So, uh, is it more like wuxia stuff, or what sort of stuff do you?
Well, we do have some players who get to understand the rules, some DM, and currently they're trying to make a whole new 5e system based on Wuling stuff and their, specific style, specific hits. They try to imitate with the 5e rules. And I'm pretty sure they would love that, and it would be great.
Another Wizard of the Coast product, which is quite popular in Taiwan, would be Magic the Gathering, isn't it?
Yes, extremely.
If Ravnica's Guide is released, would it like attract Magic the Gathering players in Taiwan to start playing D&D?
Actually, that would be right because we have a lot of people coming in who are background from Magic the Gathering. We have a friend who literally money bombed the Magic Gathering. He even told himself he said he spent at least 500,000 on that game, Taiwan dollar. I was just fantasy like, wow, are you serious? $500,000? Wow, I don't know. I don't think so. But then, well, to be real, Magic the Gathering kind of burns a lot of money, but a lot of people like to play it. Apparently, it has its own attractiveness. So, with the book releasing, and if the Magic the Gathering people will be able to notice it, because it's a new book, and when it's a new book, it's in English, and when it's in English, Taiwanese people don't really recognize it very fast. So not unless it's really translated or it was a very solid copy or edition for D&D, I think might really help D&D a lot in Taiwan.
Do you think it's going to bring in a bit of a different mindset into the game? Because when new players come in after playing Magic the Gathering, it's a competitive game, isn't it? It's
Yes,
where
true.
there is always it's a zero-sum game when there is one winner, one loser, and that could really ruin some campaign, if
Yeah, true.
coming in and wanting to win.
Yeah. I do get that kind of player pretty often. We have a lot of new players who come in with a different mindset. Like for example, when you're in a party of 5 people and when you see a encounter by yourself in the forest, you would at least try to look at it. But this player kind of like had the mindset is I'm going in and I'm killing this and I want to be cool and gets in and gets killed. And eventually, he got the wrong mindset. He kind of got angry about it. Well, I said, "I'm sorry. This is the game. I'm not supposed to make the monster weaker for you. You should have been careful. It's kind of a simulation game. It's not something where you just dive bomb in and you'll be cool. No. You don't do that in D&D. So yeah, it might be making some problems, to be honest.
There are lots of like independent creators out there who create their own like tabletop RPGs. Do you think there's going to be an independent creator in Taiwan anytime soon?
Actually, there's a lot of people been running around with that. They created their own system, Like it's actually quite a good trend. People likes to go try out something new because the resource are really few. The only people they can go around and find is just Call of Cthulhu, and that's it. They want to try something new. Oh, Wulin, to be example. Oh, they want to try to fantasize themselves in Wulin with the rules. But that's why in Taiwan, some people who really loved Wulin and understand the culture of D&D 5e, I'm pretty sure with the simplicity of the 5e rules, they might be able to create a real standalone model.
Right, but actually, there is already a Wulin tabletop RPG created.
Oh, I'm not really familiarized with it.
Yeah, if you look up a drive-through RPG, there is one that's exactly named Wulin, and there is another one called Qin. It's more of the Warring State sort of era, sort of tabletop RPG, which is created by the French, interestingly enough.
Oh, wow.
Right, and it's
That's
translated
very
to
interesting.
English. Yeah. Do you think, your play style, your sort of like D&D sort of like community would also thrive in China, or is it needs to be something completely different, the way it's run?
To be really honest, the mindset of China people, just for clarification, China people, they might have a different mindset compared to us. But with our style of D and D and playing games, we basically treat each other like brother and sisters. If we don't understand, we talk to each other. Hey, that's not what we really expected. I'm sorry. What were you thinking over there? Trying to get to understand each other. But in with when we talk about political stuff, it kind of bombs, instantly. When you talk about that in Taiwan, especially online, like when you talk about something China's influence, boom, the whole internet is blown up with it. So we try to avoid that kind of topic and stuff. But as long they try to understand and get used to our style, I'm pretty sure we can get along very well. We don't look under or above or anyway differentiate a Chinese or China people. So yeah.
Right, and do you think that they are quite competitive? Because I have a friend who's from China. He said he's not sure if Dungeons and Dragons can succeed there because Chinese people are very competitive and they always want to win. Well, that's him explaining what people from China is like. So, do you think that's accurate?
Actually, I don't want to admit that, but that's very true thing that I have observed, especially in Taiwan too. Since our culture are similar, but they don't admit it. But they literally come from the same motherland. But yeah, they always try to compete against something. In even small stuff, they love competing. So it might be having trouble, just like example I had to you about a guy who's just like dive bombing to the monster while the ally are just like miles away. They're trying to search something else, and he's just boom. I want to do it. I want to kill it. Dies, blames. They kind of get child version. Like they blame the DM for not making the monster weaker for them. Yeah, it kind of do have a trouble on there, but it would take a while. First thing is they have to change their mindset. It's really not easy to DM for a person who always want to win because basically D&D winning is to enjoy the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very wise words. Okay, so your community is relatively new in Asia, pretty much in Taiwan too. Is there a way, do you think, Wizard of the Coast can help you or assist you to make your job a lot easier, to help you grow?
We always worry. No, because here's the thing. Main thing is we are very worried when we do conventions. Because if especially when we do conventions doing D&D, for example, okay, we use our own money to go to conventions, cosplay and do DM tables. Next to our table is Magic the Gathering with the official title right up there. I'm like, are we officials? No. It kind of get awkward. We wish to at least have someone to officially recognized us and it was a hard time getting around that. And we're right now. After I talked to the community manager, he says no problem with running Adventures League in conventions. I was able to get authorization, but right now the biggest barrier is translating version of the model.
Yeah, yeah. I am sure something may turn out because with Ravnica, I'm sure they know that they want to tap into the Magic the Gathering player base, and there has also been a uh, Magic the Gathering set that's created especially for the Chinese market. So I think we can kind of like add two and two together, and most likely it's not impossible to see them release it in Chinese, I guess.
Well, if he was able to release in Chinese, that would make the whole community very different. Because now they see a rule book in Chinese, people start leaning towards it. Because right now in the system in Chinese or Taiwanese, we don't know the rules. They come to me for translation, and I translate it for them. But I can do limited stuff. That's all. But when there's an official with a stamp, I am official, they'll just go onto that book. They will enjoy reading that book. They'll get into D&D world so easily. So it's always the language barrier right now.
Can I ask you something about Call of Cthulhu? Can we talk about the Call of Cthulhu stuff? Do you know much about the Call of Cthulhu CD?
I never actually played it, but almost over 90% of our group are came from Call of Cthulhu when they come to 5e. Because Call of Cthulhu was the only table RPG that can be run online and a lot of people can run it.
What's your ambition? Where do you want to bring your group in the future? Do you want to like take it offline, or do you want to like continue growing online, or what's your plan?
My plan is mainly is to focus on Taiwanese community. Of course, if there's a lot Chinese of speaker comes over, I have no problem with that. We welcome. It's still D&D, and everybody is a brother and sister in D&D, to be honest. But in the future, we I aim to actually continually running conventions. And maybe who know one day I'll be able to grow the members big enough to get supporters, patrons and stuff so I can actually open a whole at D&D or Adventure League's convention in a certain place and everybody will just come over. That's what I'm thinking, just continuously conventions, and we'll grow in online too. We'll have players because in Taiwan, transport is the trouble. Time is in the essence. Even 1 hour transport, 2 hour transport. If you're in America, 1 hour and 2 hour, that's like neighbor. I'm just walking to the neighbor house, yeah, something like that. But no, in Taiwan, they're kind of very stingy on time. So 1 hour, 2 hour. What? That's like going to America. Oh my god. They don't want to go. They do not want to go. That's why the online community was able to grab a lot of people from the south of Taiwan, north of Taiwan, and people from the center part. They were able to do it online because it's online and we don't really have any costs, yeah, except your computer has to be running, obviously.
What's the secret sauce of your DMing style?
In Taiwan culture, I do recognize. I did DM for other cultures because I played for some Australian friends, DM for other friends. They kind of have a different. They like the story how they look, how the story looks like. They want to see how the streets looks like. They want to feel and imagine them walking on that exact moment. That's for my Australian friend. But for in Taiwan, what they wanted the most is the combat. How cool they look like. When you go in, you don't make it too unrealistic, but you make it sound like they actually can feel the sword in their hand, the shield on their hand. They can imagine themselves bracing for impact. They actually like the combat imagination. The storyline, of course, yes, there are a lot of people likes it. So my key is to make the player look cool. Not about your monster. Well, you should make your monster scary. It's not about your monster looking scary, but it makes it a challenge. And when they overcome the challenge with the overwhelmingly coolness, they get the best experience to me in Taiwan.
All right, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, thanks a lot for the interview. And it's a really great way to end the interview. And great advice. Make your players look cool. And that was Hanlin from Taiwan. If you want to play D&D in Mandarin, you can join his Facebook group using the link in the description below. Before I end the video, let me give thanks to my Patreon supporters for supporting this series. If you like what I'm doing, consider joining Patreon so that you can also ask questions to our future interviewee. Subscribe to the channel and remember to click on future videos so that you can open the world map as we explore tabletop RPG cultures from all around the world. CJ, over and out.